I'd like to now call your attention to the Mail app. It offers two features that'll help you get and stay organized: smart mailboxes and rules. Smart mailboxes show you every message in every mailbox that meets the specified criteria, and rules help you manage your incoming mail by moving it to a specific mailbox, auto-replying to it, forwarding it, or doing something else based on criteria you specify automatically. Together, they're a dynamic duo and just the ticket if your inbox is getting out of control. So let's take a quick look at how to use smart mailboxes and rules to help you work smarter. Okay, first, mailboxes. Smart mailboxes. Working smarter with smart mailboxes. Think of a smart mailbox as a mailbox that finds every message that matches one or more conditions. So for example, you could have a smart mailbox that has for messages that mention Apple or Microsoft or Photoshop, and have every message that mentions that term appear in a smart mailbox, even though they might be stored in many different mailboxes in Mail. Okay? Now to create your own smart mailbox, start by choosing Mailbox, New Smart Mailbox. Here's a good example. I often want to see every message I've ever sent to or received from anyone that works at Apple. So I have a smart mailbox that shows me only messages that are either to or from someone at an address that contains apple.com. I'm working on High Sierra for Dummies. So I have another smart mailbox that gathers all of the messages that contain the phrase macOS High Sierra or High Sierra or its version number 10.13. Now in the figure you're looking at, I've popped open both menus so you can see all of the different criteria you could possibly use for your own smart folders. Also note that there's this third pop-up menu. It says any here, but the other option is all. It's important. Okay, I'm math impaired, but as you could see, there's lots of possible permutations. And you can add as many additional criterion as you like by clicking the little plus buttons next to each item, which inserts a new condition after the item with where you click the plus. And if you want to remove one, of course, just click that little minus button. Okay, so here's the thing. If you find yourself searching for the same thing in Mail over and over again, create a smart folder and let Smart Folder search for it for you. They don't use any memory. They don't use any disk space, and they're really convenient. They cost you nothing. There's no penalty. So if you type the same thing over and over and search for it and you know you're tired of it, well, it's about time that you made a smart mailbox for that. Okay, now you can also save time and effort by using the Mail app's rules, which let you specify conditions that trigger a rule. So for example, you can create a rule that can move messages from your inbox to any other mailbox based on specified criteria, or highlight messages from a specific sender or senders, or automatically reply to or automatically forward messages with certain criteria, and much, much more. So to create a rule, choose Mail Preferences, and then click Rules. If you've never created a rule before, you should see one rule there called News from Apple, which was thoughtfully included for you by the mothership, so you wouldn't face a blank box the first time you opened the rules. Okay, so it's also the reason, by the way, why every email you get from Apple is color-coded blue in your inbox. All right, so let's take a look at how this rule works by double-clicking it in the list or by selecting it and clicking the Edit button on its right. Okay, so you're looking at this now. Okay, this is the rule. This rule adds a blue background only to messages from any of the addresses that you see in front of you. So to add another address, I would click the plus to the right of any one of those conditions. And then to delete anything, you just click the minus, of course. It's pretty easy and pretty simple. So let's try this, okay? Create a new rule. And this one's going to move new messages from a specific sender, it's going to be my editor in this example, to a specific mailbox. It's going to be a mailbox called Urgent in this example. All right, ready? I started by clicking the Add Rule button. Then I added two conditions that would trigger this particular rule. The first is from is equal to editor1 at editors.com. And number 2 is from is equal to editor2 at editors.com. Then I specified what to do with messages that match either condition, right? And that is move message to the mailbox urgent. So here's what that rule looks like. And now, when I click OK, here's the dialog I see. Now, if I click apply, my active rules are going to be applied to any mailbox that's currently selected. If I click don't apply, the rule is still saved and it's still activated, but it's not retroactively applied to any mailboxes selected or not. Now, from now on, this rule moves messages from either of my editors into the urgent mailbox as soon as they hit the inbox. So you can specify more than, I think, a dozen different conditions in the drop-down menu on the left, and you can invoke any of the 5 options in the drop-down menu on the right or in the middle. That one, okay? Now, the drop-down actions menu below all the conditions has more than a dozen things your rule can do once it meets the specified conditions. Okay? So now everything you've seen about rules so far, creating a new one, choosing the conditions, the actions that are taken when those conditions are met, it's all been really pretty straightforward. But now, if you have more than 2 rules, the order they execute in matters. See, they execute sequentially in the order that you see them in the rules window from the top. So the first rule in the list is what executes first, then the second rule, then the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. So to have a rule execute sooner or later, you can drag it up or down in the list to change that order. Okay, now when you have more than a couple of rules, you may not want some of them to be affected by the others. And if that's the case, you want the stop evaluating rules action as the final action for that rule. One more tip. You can duplicate any rule by selecting it and clicking the duplicate button on the right side of the window. Don't forget about this. It's often a lot quicker to duplicate and modify a rule similar to the one you want to create than to create the new one completely from scratch. And now, without further ado, let's move on to lesson number 4, which is part 1 of a little ditty I like to call, Just Throw Money at It.